We're so delighted to welcome Dr. Nuhad Dumit. Then, Dr. Dumit, could you please introduce yourself?
Let me first start by thanking you and all the organizers and my colleague who invited me to really share my experience with you. It's an honor and a pleasure. So I graduated in 1980 with a bachelor's degree in nursing from the American University in Beirut. Then I did my master's in education, specialized in educational policy and foundation. Then I did my PhD at the University of Colorado with a focus on outcomes measurement. So my PhD is in nursing. I've been teaching nursing since I graduated with my bachelor's degree, that is since 1980. And I moved through the ranks from an assistant instructor to assistant professor, and now I am an associate professor and convener of the undergraduate program. At the same time, I'm the coordinator of the administration track in the Masters in Nursing program at the American University of Beirut. I also co-direct the Continuing Medical Education Office at the Faculty of Medicine.
Thank you so much for your introduction. Then could you please let us know your research field? And I'm also curious to know what made you interested in that specific area?
Yeah, so I am passionate since I was a nursing student. I became passionate with the nurses' work environment and how nurses relate to each other and relate to other healthcare team members. And also, I became very interested in knowing why nurses leave nursing. So, what makes them leave? Personally, I got offers to move from my country to serve in other countries, but I did not accept. So I wanted to know about it and dig it in further. I did not have the chance to engage in research until I was doing my PhD in nursing. In 2006, I started my first focus on the research, on my research interest, which is nursing workforce issues, such as migration, that was my first, and then what are the retention strategies for nurses, what works, what does not work. And then while we were doing these kind of research and the nurses intend to leave their work environment, how it relates to their work environment, how it relates to their job satisfaction and work conditions, salaries, shifts, etc., then we found out that there are significant issues related to those phenomena in addition to job satisfaction and intent to leave the job, which is satisfaction with continuing education opportunities. And results of dissatisfaction is being absent from work. This led us to the next projects with it, which is the sickness absence among nurses working in hospitals and the assessment of continuing nursing education needs for nurses, bedside nurses, and nurse managers. And as I was doing the last national project of the continuing nursing education needs, we started having Syrian refugees, and nurses started at the time. I became more engaged again in 2000 when I became the president of the nurses chapter of our University Alumni Association. And then we had an order of nurses established in 2002, December 2002. I became actively engaged in the order activities. And the order is the only regulatory body of nursing profession in my country. And then I ended being the president of the Order of Nurses in 2005 till 2018. I did several projects from legal, legislative to workforce issues and demands for salaries to continuing education projects for nurses. So I was engaged in several things, coordinating and collaborating with ICN on several fronts. And because of that, together with my research, so they were like twinning together, my being active with the profession and my doing research. So because of my position in 2015 as president of the order, checking the concerns of the nurses and visiting them from one district to the other, I realized that the nurses are suffering the burden of the healthcare demands of the Lebanese and the Syrian refugees. You know, we have the highest proportion of Syrian refugees in the world, and the highest proportion of refugees in general in the world. As a small country, we are sharing resources that are already diminished. And Lebanon has been in war and then financial crisis and now COVID. So I'm always using research so that it informs legislation, it informs policy, and it informs nursing practice. So this is how I became involved in my kind of research studies.
While I was listening to her talk, I was kind of curious, like, because, nurses leaving the front line is really happening around the world during this COVID pandemic. From your
Right.
perspective, like, how do you think we can save nurses to leave from the front line in this current pandemic?
Wow, this is the most challenging for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need first to know what is happening at the level of the front line, so that we can really alleviate the problems and the challenges. So the COVID is affecting nurses and the nursing profession, uh, in addition to affecting the whole nation. And I think what is happening in Lebanon is happening in different countries, but more so in Lebanon because we are in terrible financial crisis. If you want to buy a dollar, you cannot find it except in black market, and it is very expensive. $1 is very expensive. So to that extent, we are suffering in my country. So at individual level, yes, some nurses were laid off. Not that they left; they were laid off because the hospitals say that they are not making money because of COVID, and so the first to lay off are the females, the nurses. So this is something we need to learn about and to prepare ourselves to face this big challenge. So nurses who were laid off became in very severe economic hardship in addition to the already existing financial crisis. Then what happens, the nurses who are left on duty are overburdened with the workload. So what do we do with them? Their immune system is being affected by the workload, and this makes them more susceptible to acquiring COVID. So a lot of nurses contracted COVID and transmitted it to their families. We even lost few lives. We call them the martyrs of the COVID pandemic. Because they acquired it when they were on duty. At the practice professional level, the profession is suffering a lot. Nurses are demanding the order to move, and the president of the order, who is very, very active and very well acquainted with the Nursing Association in Japan, she is spending day and night mobilizing politically uh, all, uh, all stakeholders to give more support to nurses, give them protection first with PPEs and the right equipment and supplies to protect themselves. This is number one, because nurses sacrifice all the time. Their priority is to serve humanity and to serve people. Give me something to protect me and I will stay at the front line. This is what the nurses are saying. The second thing is compensation, fair compensation for the massive work they are doing. So this is highly needed, because what affects the individual nurses and the profession, it definitely affects the whole country and the whole people living in this country. So they will suffer because of our suffering. If they want to have a better place, they have to support nurses. Otherwise, nothing will work with them. From the all health authorities, even the government, we're telling them you are failing because you are not using the most valuable element that can save the country.
Yeah, that's like a totally really important issue. While I was listening to her talk, I extremely agree that we have to look from a politic level, like organizational level, and also individual, because like you mentioned, there's like financial issues and like medical issues and so many things going on. Yeah, thank you so much for providing that perspective.
Whether at the order of nurses level or whether at individual level. Like I am leading several initiatives at the university level, at the community level, and all the time saying I'm a nurse leading these initiatives. And the team that I am leading is formed of doctors, lawyers, political scientists, other types of scientists, activists, but the nurse is leading them. And recently, since last week, we started a hotline initiative engaging municipalities in almost most of Lebanon so that we train them to answer to the needs of the people who are positive for COVID but can stay at home. So we are training, we are preparing, we are giving advice, we are doing consultations, and this whole initiative is led by nurses. So, and we are engaging the media and showing the media how valuable are our practices, our knowledge, our profession, our dedication, and the service that we do selflessly. So mass media, and specifically in Lebanon, for instance, TV is very important. It affects the people's minds. So use them towards showing and demonstrating the value and worth of the nursing profession to the society.
Thanks for raising that point. Like you said, that nurses are leading the society. Based related to that point, what would be the future nurses' role in the post-COVID-19 era?
Yeah. So I think the pandemic is, as much as it is disastrous to the whole world, it's an opportune time that nurses and nursing students uh, to use so that they can prove their position in making a difference in the people's lives. So I want to tell the nursing students, because I assume the nursing students will be listening to me. I want to ask them three things. Believe in your profession and its value in serving humanity and making a significant difference in people's life. Believe that no one among humans, no human being sufferings and needs like nurses do. So nurses are the best to make decisions about policies and actions for serving people to meet their needs, to live in dignity. Believe in yourself and your abilities, that you are the agent of change to drive collective energies towards best care to those needing us. These days in COVID, nowadays, other days, it could be something else. So be prepared all the time. It is in your hands, nursing students who will become my fellow colleagues in nursing practice. Please prepare yourself to be those leaders of the world. Health is not physical health. You will lead in physical health, you will lead in social health, you will lead in psychological health, and name it. Nursing is the best positioned to understand how to make legislations, how to translate them into procedures and actions, and how to evaluate them and learn based on the evaluation how to make it better.